Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, world. Thank you for joining us on Morning Spring. This is Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. This is where we talk about everything that's worth talking about, in as much as about the public good. This is where you get to hear it first. And of course, we say it as it is. Femi Ojo is my name. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome you here this morning, this Thursday edition of Morning Spring. We usually look at the dailies, headlines from our major dailies every day. And of course, at the other side of that, we then get to talk about issues in the public space. And I'm sure you don't want to miss any part of today's program. We are beaming live, crystal clear on channel 190 on StarTimes DTT and also on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. Thank you for joining us. And it's a lot to really talk about. It is a lot, actually. The service chiefs were at the National Assembly yesterday where they went for confirmation. And it's safe to say they are good to go. And by the way, after that, they went to see the outgoing, or outgone, maybe, as of yesterday, outgoing, Chief of Defense Staff, talking about General Christopher Musa, of course, to pay, homage to him, if that is what it's called in the military. And of course, people are saying, we wish you all the best of luck, especially these new service chiefs, and we hope their reign will bring in the desired result, sustained, permanent, positive result as far as the war against insecurity is concerned. And, chiefly among these things that have happened in the last 24 hours is the rescinding, of the decision of the federal government to pardon some, persons that were in the correctional facilities for different crimes. That controversial pardon list that was released last week, or towards the last weekend, actually, in which it really tore many persons apart when it comes to decision or agreement or disagreement about who shall have made that particular list, especially when you have so many drug peddlers, on that particular list, where you have a kidnapper, notorious kingpin, convicted kingpin on that particular list. And of course, you have a murderer on that list as well, Maria Sander, who, was set free, actually, totally, because of she being a mother to her two children, and based on rumors and good behavior, she was released. And in fact, Nigerians are not having it. The Ministry of Justice, Attorney General of the Federation, released, something after that, a communique to say, oh, they have not been released. It's still being reviewed, and all of those stuff and sorts. At the end of the day, yesterday, it was released again that that particular list had been reviewed, and many of those persons that maybe have been set free before will now have their, the entire pardon being put in their time commuted, rather. I think that's what it is. Their sentences that was reviewed, revoked, or reversed before has not been commuted. Many of them will look into that because of today. Marian Sander as well has had, death sentence commuted, to 12 years imprisonment. So she has served more than 6 years. So she has approximately 6 years to go, not a total release. And Nigerians are saying, okay, is that the best we can do? How did we even come by that particular list in the first place? Because there were allegations in some quarters that some names were smuggled into it. And if that actually was, and is true, who are they? Were names really smuggled into that? Which persons did that in the first place? And then the federal government and the president, rather, has directed the Ministry of Justice to take over, that assignment, and they should take it away from the Ministry of Special Duty. This pardon list and all of the things will be domiciled in the Ministry of Justice with the Attorney General of the Federation, for proper guidance. Now, some will say, does this connote a listening government actually, because they have to listen to what the people are saying. Does that show the Tinubu's administration, the government of the day, as a listening one, or they were just trying to save their face, actually, like a damage control kind of initiative to say, okay, you have listened, you have talked, we have listened, and so here we go. Because some would believe, how could such high profile, felons actually could have made it to that particular list? And by the way, some would say the president has that power to forgive anyone, but then are there ambits that the president should have treaded? Actually, why they are not persons who vetted that list? This same list, when Lenny was presented to the Council of State. And didn't they see that? Because these reviewed list that was released yesterday, it was still brought to the Council of State again for review. And they have ratified it again. So what exactly do they do at the Council of State? Many questions are needed to be asked, actually. But then there is a lot and so much we'll be looking into the course of the program today. But right now, the papers are in, and you have so much to look forward to. It's Morning Spring on Western Spring Television with Femi Ojo. Stay with me. All right, thank you for being here. And almost all the dailies today carry, the greeting from, the greetings of the news service chiefs, actually. But then we still have some interesting headlines, from these papers. Southwest, let me start from the Nigerian Tribune. Southwest leaders, traditional rulers unite for regional progress. Southwest leaders, traditional rulers unite for regional progress with riders. Fashion Akonde Ayedatiwa Sanwo-Olu, others push for Yoruba unity and development agenda. Southwest leaders, traditional rulers unite for regional progress. Fashion Akonde Ayedatiwa Sanwo-Olu, others push for Yoruba unity and developmental agenda. Page 12 of the Nigerian Tribune has that. Just beside it, you have these federal government releases 2.3 billion naira for payment of salary and promotion arrears in universities. Federal government releases 2.3 billion naira for payment of salary and promotion arrears in universities. All right, that should be good news, actually. Releases 2.3 billion naira for payment of salary, promotion arrears in universities. And maybe, just maybe, these might assuage some of the feelings of, the university workers, especially ASU, and maybe NASU as well, because many of them have been brimstones and whirlwind, threatening to down tool and go on strike again because of some of this concern. And now that we are hearing that the federal government has released 2.3 billion naira now, how far can that go, actually? Because when you talk about 2.3 billion naira to be shared as salaries, as pension arrears, and some of these things in the universities, federal universities in Nigeria, how much would that be, actually, for universities that are quite many? All right, we hope that would do something, and it won't be like a play, like they are just joking. There's salaries on one side, arrears on one side, and you're talking about the federal universities in Nigeria. Interesting. All right. Here we go. The Punch newspaper has the coup controversy. Coup controversy. Military tracks 45 billion in NDDC. Military tracks 45 billion naira in NDDC with a rider. Detained soldiers linked in NDDC top shots probe. Silver out of country denies links with alleged coup. All right, again, detained soldiers linked in NDDC top shots probe. Silver out of country denies links with alleged coup. And with that big bold headline, coup controversy, military tracks 45 billion naira in NDDC. This is one story that is not going away, and I'm not sure it's going to go away very soon. Actually, because you're talking about a coup in any nation is a very, very serious business. It's a very serious offense, actually. And so nobody, no country, no authority, no government, no regime will take lightly, to that, actually. And so some names have been mentioned, like a former minister, in Nigeria, former governor of Bayelsa State, Timipra Silva, that is actually out of the country, and he has responded to the allegation. He released a statement to say he has nothing to do with these coup allegation and all of those things. Now, there are indications or allegations at best to say a particular contract was released, from the NDDC, quite a huge sum of money, and some said that was the money that was used or that was supposed to be used to finance that particular coup, even if everybody is denying right now, because the federal government has said no coup. Timothy Silva, the man that's been mentioned, has said no coup. So where is this coming from? Now that we are hearing the name, the house of Timothy Silva, they confirmed that yes, it was raided by the military. But for what? Actually, that's it. Now, how does this have something to do with the NDDC? The NDDC is supposed to be the Niger Delta Development Commission, a commission under the federal government of Nigeria. So, why is this happening? Why are they being fingered? Why are some persons being fingered from the NDDC? As General Olukolade said earlier in the week, time shall tell. And I think maybe time is revealing right now, either to the confirmation or to the denial. All right, away from that top strip, Tinubu revokes pardon for Sunday. 140 high-profile inmates. Tinubu revokes pardon for Sunday. 140 high-profile inmates. We'll talk about that in the course of the program today. And Senate screening. Chief of Defense Staff eyes foreign partnership to crush insurgency. Senate screening. Chief of Defense Staff eyes foreign partnership to crush insurgency. Again, Senate screenings. Chief of Defense Staff eyes foreign partnership to crush insurgency. And there you go. The Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Obafemi Oluyede, Chief of Air Staff, AVM Sunday, that's Air Vice Marshal Sunday Aneke, the Chief of Defense Intelligence Major General Emmanuel Underde, Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Idi Abbas, and of course the Chief of Army Staff Major General Waidi Shoaibu. Wish them all the best. Next up is The Guardian. The Guardian newspaper for today. Federal government backtracks on pardon as Nigerians question due process. Federal government backtracks on pardon as Nigerians question due process. All right. And just above that, service chiefs unveil ambitious plans at Senate confirmation. Service chiefs unveil ambitious plans at Senate confirmation. Now, the thing is, ambition on one side, plan on another side, strategy on another hand. How about deliverables? How about timeline? Because you talk about KPIs when it has to do with serious business, key performance indexes. What are those things that the Senate, has highlighted for these new service chiefs? Not just about them having plan, or something that they have in mind to do, to carry out once they get into office. Be quite ambitious. That is what The Guardian is saying. Ambitious plan. But what are the plans of the Nigerian people through their representatives at the National Assembly for these persons? That's very important, and I think that should be made clear to them to say, let us see your plans. And when they have done that, the Nigerian people through, their representative, the Nigerian, National Assembly, should tell them, okay, these are our plans. This is our expectations. This is what our people have told us, and this is what we are asking of you. How are you going to carry these out? Because when you hear the word scrutiny, grilling, and all of those things, you just wonder, do they really do that at the National Assembly? What kind of questions do they ask, actually? Because this is a war that has gone long for too much, more than 14 years or 15. Some will say it started. Insurgency terrorism, in a kind of way, started in 2009, 2010 in Nigeria. This is 2025. We're talking about an average of 15 years of these kind of war in Nigeria. And those guys are running all over the place, wreaking havoc as they are being neutralized. It seems they are reincarnating every time and disturbing the society, killing, maiming, raping, looting, rustling cars, and all of those things. It's not just about they having their plan. How are they going to carry it out? Do they know the expectation of the Nigerian people? Apart from the mandate given to them by their CNC as the chief, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Mr. President, the Senate should have something. National Assembly for them in 6 months. What are you going to do? In 1 year, what are you going to do? And the person who gave them the mandate, Mr. President, should know. He should let them know. I'm giving you, either the Nigerian people are aware, either they make it public or not. In 6 months, give me improvement in these areas, in these areas, in these areas. That's the way it should be, not just for them to come, speak whatever they think is on their mind, and then a couple of questions, some patronizing at best, is asked, and then they take a bow, and then they go, and then they go ahead with their ambition without anybody checking periodically. First 1 month, second month, third month, 6 months, 1 year. What have you been able to achieve? That's the way it should be, and that's what Nigerians are expecting, actually. Away from that, opaque oil incentives may cost Nigeria 6 trillion naira yearly. Naiti Sislak 1. Opaque oil incentives may cost Nigeria 6 trillion naira yearly. Naiti Sislak 1. The opacity in the oil and gas industry, you're talking about incentives here, actually. And just beside that, still on the front page of The Guardian, reps approved Tinubu's 2.34 billion naira loan, empower EFCC to seize assets without conviction. Reps approved Tinubu's $2.34 billion loan, empower EFCC to seize assets without conviction. Actually, one thing is this: Mr. President, on behalf of the people of Nigeria, taking loans here and there, there's been this back and forth of either we are clean, we have a clean bill of health as far as our GDP to debt ratio is concerned in Nigeria, and some will say we are still below 40%. Must we always be, within that premise of no, we have not overrun it, we are still within? Why are we borrowing this much? That's the question. And what are we using it for? $2.34 billion loan. The president is saying we are doing well, we are generating more money, not all export is really flourishing in Nigeria. And in fact, the president said like 2 months ago, I think during the before the October, there was a particular meeting or instance where he said the revenue projection for the year has been met. So why, if that is the case, I stand to be corrected now. Why is Mr. President still going all out for these loans now that the reps have confirmed? Actually, they have approved $2.34 billion loan. The question is, so much has to be done by our Nigerian representatives. Do they really ask Mr. President, why are we borrowing this? Actually, do they do that? Where are we? What are we doing? Bring the books. Do we really need this? Or whatever Mr. President brings, he gets. Actually, even if he has the best of intention, that is why these representatives are there on behalf of the people to say, Mr. President, what are you going to do with this? How much have been borrowed so far? How are we doing with them? What are the projects? What is this meant for? Actually, because it's the country that is borrowing, actually. And Tinubu will not be there forever. When he finishes his first term, if Nigerian people wish to bring him back, and they bring him back, the highest they can go is 80 years, actually. So after he leaves, and we have been, burdened by debt, hopefully not, Nigerians will still be the one to pay. Someone else will come back and say, this is what the previous administration have done. Same thing that's been said about the late Buhari now, that he borrowed Nigeria into problem. Now we are here. Almost the same level of borrowing is going on right now, if not worse. And the thing is, we are not paying subsidy again. So the question has always remained, why are we borrowing this much? Almost every AK market day, Nigeria or the president will make a proposal, an application of a loan. And the National Assembly, I've not seen one day, and I stand to be corrected as well, since the advent of this particular administration, that it brought anything, that the executive will bring a proposal of debt, of loan rather, to the National Assembly, and they will shrug it off. Or they will say, no, Mr. President, we don't need this now. Ever. He's looking more like a pattern. The same thing that happened under Buhari. About the National Assembly leadership at the time say, whatever he brings, he will get. And it's happening right now. Now that we even have majority of the members of the National Assembly, especially the Nigerian Senate, of the same party. They're not the same APC. But then either of the APC or APP or APO or PDP or whatever P is about the Nigerian people and generations unborn. $2.34 billion for a country that said they are doing well, that we have turned the corner, and that we are generating more. We are still borrowing. By the way, what's the 30th of October? We are reading this. We hope by 30th of November, we won't be talking about another borrowing. Actually, that's the thing. Now, the FCC and the reps have approved and they have empowered the FCC to seize assets without conviction. What it means is the moment AFCC comes at a company, as an individual, at an organization, without conviction, the reps are saying you have power to take over, to seize assets. How does this work, actually? So what happens to that person's life and livelihood and business and wherewithal if actually that person is not guilty? That's the question. Instead of fast-tracking or having a watertight prosecution and making sure prosecutions are done very fastly and robustly and awesomely, the National Assembly or the reps are saying you have a right to seize people's assets even without conviction. Well, the ball is in your court, Nigerians, if that is what we need at this time. They might have their reasons, and maybe it needs page 4 as an explanation to that. That will be all from the Guardian newspaper. And lastly for today, the Daily Sun. The Daily Sun. All right, alleged coup plot. Security agents spread dragnet. Fears. Alleged coup plot. Security agents spread dragnet and fears. All right, with some writers here. How DIA, NFIU, EFCC tracked, uncovered ex-governor Silva's transactions. Interesting how DIA, NFIU, EFCC tracked, uncovered ex-governor Silva's transactions. DSS, not military, raided his Abuja residence. All right. DSS, not military, raided his Abuja residence. And still, right at that headline, former Bayelsa governor confirms raid, denies involvement in any plot. The man, Mr. Silva, said yes, his house was raided. He has nothing to do with any allegation of coup in Nigeria. Right, and top strip, Tinubu bows to pressure, reviews pardon list, excludes convicts of murder, drug, kidnapping, human trafficking, tightens criteria for future exercises. Tinubu bows to pressure, that's the way the Daily Sun has put it, the voice of the nation, reviews pardon list, excludes convicts of murder, drug, kidnapping, human trafficking tightens criteria for future exercises. All right, and that will be all on the headline segment for today. We have a lot to talk about, actually, especially this issue of Mr. President rescinding his decision and now reviewing. So many questions to ask, really, to say who are those people actually that put up this particular list. Now that it has been reviewed and a major decision has been made on these, were they testing the waters to see how Nigerians will react? Are we really serious in having a society that has deterrence actually for crimes, or we are just there? And some will say, does this show this administration as a coordinated administration that has due diligence, that have desk, that vet things, that have think tanks, that look into things before they are, released into the public, not just to test the waters, see what Nigerians will do, so much to really look into. And we have, who would love to have your reactions as well, especially on our Facebook and YouTube page and channel, respectively. Tell us what you think about this decision. Has Mr. President done well? Does he show him as a listening type? And what do you think? What do you feel? We will have more on these stories and this conversation. That will be after now, because we'll be speaking to critical stakeholders, legal professionals, public affairs analysts, who will be telling us what they think about this decision. This Nigeria is ours, and it must prosper. Stay with me.